Welcome to a new tutorial, part of the Django blog series, where we're showing how easy it is to set up any HTML blog template that you have with a Django backend. And so if you've been following along in this series, then so far what we've done is we've managed to link up this HTML template to our Django backend, in which we have this kind of front page. We also have this blog list, and we've also been able to link our individual posts with a really cool editor and some comments and a lot of other stuff. So in this one, we're going to be continuing with this and kind of finishing off most of the logic, where we're going to cover updating posts, deleting them, and actually creating them with our little form editor that we saw in the last video. And we're also going to touch up a bit of the styling and just add some finishing touches around the site. And so if you'd like to follow along, you can just go to the Dreamblog GitHub repository that we have. And there you can just clone or download this repository and then reset back to the latest commit, which at this point is this commit which says blog post detail page now works. So you can just find this commit hash here and then reset back to this point, and you will be at the point at which we're starting this tutorial. So once you're at that point and you've got everything in your editor, then let's get started. So I've got my server running here. You can see there it is in the terminal. And what we're going to start off with is just fixing a little bit of the styling. So a few things that stand out are, one, that the actual search bar doesn't work, whereas in the last video where we had a single post or the post list here, we've got this search bar which actually works. If we search for something, then we get not a very pretty list of results, but we get some results. So we want to hook up this kind of logic to the actual search for the entire site, not only in this blog list. So we're going to handle that. Then also, if we click on post, you can see that it's just giving us this page not found error. So we're going to want to fix that up as well. And then touch up the styling here on these categories because they're not really aligned and it's a bit weird there as well. And then I'm also going to remove the tags because we're not actually using that. So let's start off with opening up the templates that we're going to work out of. So we know that that's going to be the navbar, which is this header. And so here we've got the form itself, which is this form. And so we're going to need to add the same logic that we did inside our post detail or post list. So either one. So inside blog, we were using the sidebar. So we're going to go to the sidebar because the sidebar has the form logic, and there it is. So we'll just copy that there, come back into the header, and we'll just paste this just to reference off of. So we're going to need to put this action as the search URL. So instead of this action, it's going to go to the same URL, and we're not going to change any of the styling there, except the input we need to give a name of Q instead of search. So we'll just change that there. And then the placeholder stays the same, everything else stays the same, and that's it. So we can now get rid of that. And let's close the sidebar. Let's check this out now. So if we refresh, search there, let's say we search for first. Now you can see it's showing the results for first. Cool, so that's that. Now we can remove post from the navbar. So we can just scroll a little bit down, and here's the list item that shows that. So we'll just get rid of that there. Then if we come back, now that's gone. I'm going to leave the contact in there just to inspire creating a contact page, but we're not actually handling that right now. Then we can click on blog and we can go down and get rid of the tags section there. So let's go into blog. And again, this is going to go inside sidebar. So we'll just open up sidebar and we can scroll down here to the tags. And I'm going to delete the entire div there. So if we delete that and refresh this, now that's all gone. And that's the same for the individual post because it's using the same sidebar. So that's all gone now. And if we go back, now we can change these tags here, these categories here in the blog list. So if we open up blog, scroll up here to the categories here, we're creating a div for every category, which is not what we want to do. We just want to have the overall div category and only render out A tags or anchor tags for each category in the posts categories. So now when we do it like that, now they're styled a little bit nicer because they're actually right next to each other. Cool, so that's a couple things ticked off the list. Now we can actually look at creating posts and updating them and actually deleting them as well. Now, I'm treating this website as if it was my own personal blog, which means no one else is actually a creator on this website. I'm the only one. Now, all we need to do is just say, if, for example, if we go to this post, if the user that's actually viewing this post right now is the user that also created this, meaning admin in this case, because admin is the user who created this, then I should have some kind of either a button at the bottom or something, or at the top that shows delete or update so that I can head to those views immediately. So what we'll do is, I think we'll put this at the top instead of at the bottom because maybe the post could be really long. So let's open up the post.html, and in there we also saw a bunch of tags at the bottom. So I'm going to go and find those tags and we'll delete them. So here we have that div that says post tags. So I'm going to actually just delete the entire div. Now if we come back and refresh this, now we've gotten rid of those tags. Cool, so let's go all the way to the top, and we're going to want to show those buttons, I would say, either somewhere here right below the categories or right above the thumbnail. So I think it'll look a little bit better right here beneath these categories. So what we can do is just come over here and just create a div, and inside this div we're just going to put 2 anchor tags, and one is going to say update, one is going to say delete, and you could maybe put the delete button inside the update view. You could do this however you want really. And then we'll just put the href, and each href is going to access a method on our model. So if we go to posts models, then just like we have the get absolute URL, we'll copy that and paste it, and we'll say get update URL, and this is going to take us to post update, and then we'll copy this again, and this one will be get delete URL, which will take us to post delete. Then inside our blog URLs, we're going to need to copy this a couple times. So this will be post update, and this will be post delete. We'll change the names here to be post update and to be post delete as well, so that they match these reverse calls that we've put inside here. And now all we need are the views to actually go along with these URLs, because right now we're just using the same view to handle that. So let's go into the post views, and if we just scroll down, we've got blog, post, and I'm going to come down here and say this will be post update. We'll say it takes in a request and an ID. I'm just going to say pass for now, and then we'll copy the exact same thing, and this will be post delete. Then we'll just take these 2 views, so we'll copy them, bring them into our posts views import. So we've got post update and we've got post delete, and let's just make sure we import it correctly like that. Then our post update we can use as the view to handle that URL, and post delete to handle that URL, and that should take care of that. Now we just need to put the logic inside the update and delete, and actually we're missing one, which is the post create while we're at it. So we'll just put post create, and we don't need an ID for that one. And let's take that view and we'll bring it into URLs, and we'll just fix the styling here just to look a little bit better. And then we'll actually add another URL which can just go above here. So this will be create, and this will be post create as the name, and then post create as the view to handle that. So we've got create, we've got the detail view, we've got the list view, update, and delete view. So the entire CRUD list of views. And we've actually created the forms that we'll need to use in the post create and post update already in the previous videos, which is this post form, which is using the tiny MCE widget. So all we need to do is just import that post form. So let's go to the top here and we'll say import post form. Then we can come back to the bottom And here we'll say our form equals to post form, where we'll put in request.post or none. And then we'll just say if request.method equals to post. Then we'll say if form.isValid, we'll say form.save, and we can return a redirect where we'll just say reverse of post detail and pass in keyword arguments, which will be a dictionary where all we need is the ID, which will then be form.instance.id, so the instance of the post that was just created. And then we can just say return a render of that request with some context, where the context is going to have that form passed in. So we'll say context form is that form up above here. And then we'll say that this goes to, let's say, post underscore create.html. So now we just need to create that. So we'll say post create.html. And this is going to be similar to most of these. So we'll just come to the top. We'll copy that, and we don't need static. Then we just need to say end block content. So what we'll do is we'll just create a div, and inside the div we'll have our form. We'll say that the method of the form is post, and the action takes us to this URL that we're on right now. Then we'll pass in the CSRF token, and then we'll say form.asp, and we'll add a button over here, and this button is going to have a type as submit, and then we'll just say submit and see how this comes out now. So if we come back here, we're going to need to go to /create, and so there's our form. Not pretty, but we'll fix this up with some Bootstrap, and we can use a package called Django Crispy Forms to handle that for us. So we'll just search for that and run through the installation fairly quickly. Then here you can just click on the GitHub link to their GitHub repository, and we can click on that link to take us to the website. Then if we click on installation, all we have to do is just add Crispy Forms as an installed app, and we can take this and install it. So I'll stop the server. We'll say pip install Django Crispy Forms, and there we go. Then we just have to take Crispy Forms and put this in the installed apps. So let's go blog settings all the way to the top, and then here we'll add in Crispy Forms. Then we just need to specify the Crispy template pack, which will be Bootstrap 4 in our case. So we'll just come here and say Bootstrap 4. Then we can come here and run the server again, and that should be that. Then we can just come here and we'll load it in. So we'll say load Crispy Forms tags like this. Then we can come to our form and we can put the pipe operator there and say crispy to use that template tag. Now we can come back and check out our form, and there we go. Then we can just put this with some styling here. So we'll say this is class equals to column 4, and we'll just say offset 4. And if we refresh this, there we go. So there's our form that's coming through, and we aren't getting the actual content of our tiny MCE editor coming through, but there's also some things that we don't want to show in the form, such as the author. That should be based on who's actually creating it right now, and then the comment count and the view count. All of those shouldn't be fields on the form, so we'll need to come and edit that inside the forms.py. So inside posts forms, then here we'll just specify the fields, and this is going to be a tuple. So we're going to need the title, then we'll need the overview, we'll need the content, we'll need the thumbnail, categories, and featured. So add those there, thumbnail, categories, and we'll need featured, and then the previous post and the next post as well. So previous post and next post, just like that. Cool, so let's refresh this. And there we go. So title, overview, content, and we can also come back into the template itself and give our button a class of button and then button default. So if we refresh this, now it's like that, and let's actually make this button primary. And okay, there we go. And we can actually just come here and say margin bottom 5, just so we get a little padding there. Cool, there we go. And we can actually add margin top 5 as well. And we'll give it an h3 tag and say create an article. Now, in order to get the TinyMCE editor displaying here, we actually need to include a couple more things in our form. So first, let's go back here, and right above the form, we're going to say form.media, because this is going to allow us to actually show some of the media related to the form. And then secondly, we need to pass in the ENC type of the form. So basically this will specify what type of data is actually being submitted in the form. And in our case, this is going to be multipart/form data, like that. And that's just saying that we can be submitting images and text and other types of data in the form. So now if we save that and come back here, now you can see the editor is being displayed. And we can specify the width of this editor to match the width of the column a little bit nicer, because it's not that nice having it extend out of the actual div. And so we just need to go into the settings to handle that. So we'll just go into blog settings, and then let's just close the terminal there. Then if we scroll down here, we can actually just get rid of the height and width, and let's just see what that does. There we go. Cool. So now it's in line, and it's just maximizing the width according to its parent, and then the height obviously has some kind of minimum height, which you can always just drag up and down for your liking. So that seems to be working pretty well. Now let's actually go ahead and actually create a post. So let's say testing a post with the editor. We're saving the form, but we actually haven't given it an author, because if we go to the post, you can see that we require an author here. So what we need to do is we need to say form.instance.author equals to, and now we need to actually get the author corresponding to this user. So if we just import the author model, then here we can actually just create a method, and we'll say get user author, and we'll say it takes in user, and actually we'll just call this get author. We'll just say query set equals to author.objects.filter, where the user equals to user. And if the query set exists, then we will return query set of 0, otherwise we will return none. So then we can use this get author, and we'll say author equals get author of the request.user, and then just say that the instance author equals to author, like that. We see we've got this spelling error there, so that's meant to be form.instance. And then lastly, what we need to do is add in another parameter into the form, which is for files. So here we need to say request.files or none. And so now, if we refresh the page, we'll fill in the form. And now that I've filled in the form with some dummy data, we can click submit. And now it has redirected us to post/4, which we can now see if we refresh here. It's also in the database, and everything is pretty much exactly what we said it was. It's got those categories, it's got the thumbnail, it has the previous post that was selected, and it's got this update and delete button here on the side of it. And what we need to do now is basically just link these two to actually go to those URLs where we can update or delete them. So we can see that the post create is working, and maybe what we also want to do is put a URL here or a link here in the nav bar, which will take us to the create page, but only if we're an admin user. So let's go and open up the template for that, which is in the header. And so we're going to need another link item. So around that, we'll say if request.user.isStaff, then we can go to the end of that and say end if, and this will say create, and then this will take us to a URL, which will take us to post create, like that. And if we refresh this, now we have the create icon there, or link, and if we click it, it takes us right back here. Cool, so let's go back to the blog, and if we click on this last one, now let's go and open up the post detail, which is just post.html. And here we just need to add these URLs in there. So we'll just say URL, and this will take you to post update. And then same thing for delete, take you to post delete, but then you just need to pass in the ID. So we'll say ID equal to post.id. Same thing for the delete. If you come back, refresh this. Now if I click update, it takes us to /update. And now we just need to go handle those views. So here, this is going to be pretty much the same thing as the post create. So I'm actually just going to copy all of that. And the only thing now is that inside the form, we just have to add instance, which is going to be equal to the post that we are editing. So I'm going to say post equals get object or 404 of the post where ID equals ID, and then that instance is the post, and we can actually just write it like this. And then in the context, I'm just going to add in a title, which we'll just say is title, and up top here I'll say title equals to update, and then we'll just copy that, bring that in there, and make this create, and then we'll pass in the title in the same way. And we're actually going to leave it that the post update view uses the same form, or the same file rather, the post create.html. So we can come inside here, and instead of saying create all the time, this can then say title, and we can take a look at this now. Now it says update an article, and it's got all the data populated in the form. And we could say, for example, we'll just change the title to be something updated, and we'll come and submit that, and there we go. So we'll just come back and we'll go into our views, and here we just need to get the post. So we'll say get object or 404 where ID equals ID, and then just say post dot delete and return, and this is going to need to be a redirect. So we'll say redirect to, and we can actually reverse as well. So we'll reverse to post list, and we don't need any keyword arguments there. And we'll come back, refresh this, and if I click delete, there we go, redirected us back to the list view, and we can see that the post is deleted. And there we go, that's all we wanted to actually handle in this video. So now you can actually create posts, you can update those posts, and you can use that pretty cool editor to do all that. And you can actually delete them as well if you want to. And so with all of that, most of the styling is pretty much fixed. We've actually managed to pretty much recreate the entire HTML website, but now with Django. And we didn't need to do any of our own custom styling really, just adding in things when we wanted, such as those links to update and delete the post. But other than that, we've taken full advantage of the HTML that we were given to start with, and that's really the whole point of this series. So I hope you've been able to see how easy it is to link your HTML blog or pretty much any website to Django as a backend, and we've been able to do this in quite a short amount of time and produce something that actually looks relatively good. If you're not someone who's comfortable working in the front end, then this is maybe an option for you as a workflow for most of your projects. And so what we're going to do in the next video is take this live, and there are many ways that we can do this, And we actually have a Udemy course up showing how you can deploy your Django project to many different platforms that offer deployment as a solution. So we'll link that in the description of this video that you can check out, but in the next video we will show how you can take this project live with one of those options. And so until then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.